Dun, 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 dun. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. What's up, party people in the house?
What up, though?
Welcome to Texas Live, one of the sexiest voices in the SFL,
Mr. Master.
Dave Axis. Are we getting the pitch ready? Wink. Is that what we're doing?
We're getting the pitch ready, and that's the pitch in your voice.
Awesome. So we're getting the pitch ready. Is that the soccer pitch or is that the pitch in my voice? What's up, party people of the SFL? Welcome to the shit show that is Axis Live Season 16, Episode 10. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Dave Axis, as always. We have another great show, another great panel tonight to recap the SFL Season 16 Week 5 games. We're going to have Gunny, the wisest man in the SFL, with his pearls of wisdom later. Of course, we will have, that's right, Crazy 8s 2000, LA Dodgers pitch, baby. We're going to have the Week 5 Diva of the Week nominees. Tyler will be here to let us know what is next on NETMA. And then in After Dark, I will reveal the surprise announcement that is the Wednesday night special edition After Dark show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. right after NETMA. So all of that being said, let's check out the party peeps in the chat. First guy in is Dwayne. We got Harish, Charles, Bob Funk, the beautiful, lovely, amazing Pink Lisa's in the house. Wiggy 9800 is with us. Jack Wigmore. Nate Hall, James Walters, Bullet Boletsky, Doug Britton, Eddie Gage, what up, though? Bearded Android, Drew, how you doing, buddy? Tyler Falk, of course, Hubba Breezy, the mighty Joe Young Guy Clausen's here, Benji Madsen, David Leathers is in the house. Love your name, bro. You got the best first name I ever heard of. Jeff Farnsy's here. Wink is here, of course. Good thing. Coco's here. The long arm of the law is in the house. What's that? Who is? Oh, I don't see his name yet. Well, he's got to say something. I can't see him. You know, if you don't say something, I can't see you, Cam. Let me see. Cam Curtis. Oh, Cam Curtis is in the house, and that's about it tonight. Maybe a little smaller group, but that's okay. You know what? We'll do a party. Ain't no party like a West Coast party because a West Coast party don't stop. Who else? Oh, Ray. What's up, Ray? Sneaking in right before I get things started and kicking off. What's up? All right. So let's meet our panel. Let's just get into it. In our unscripted circle tonight to help us recap these Week 5 games is the GM of Vancouver, the Coco Nuts himself, Mr. Mike Percoco is here. Mike, what's up? How you doing? What's going on?
Vancouver, I love y'all. How are you doing?
Vancouver, dude, I don't know, bro. It's going to be that kind of show. I can feel it. I don't feel like I don't feel prepared for some reason, even though I'm completely prepared. I don't feel it. A couple more people real quick. Marco Swift just jumped in. Or I guess one more person jumped in. That's it. All right. Unfiltered Circle tonight. The vice president of everything that is the first place in the Tex-Mex division, Fort Worth Toros, Robert Garrett Jr. Robert, you know how much it hurt me to say that, right?
Oh, dude, it felt great for me.
I'm sure it did. We're not going to read. Hey, Wink, we need to edit that part in the final. Forget about being unedited. We're going to be edited tonight. Speaking of unedited, in the unedited circle with us, another junior, but this one actually plays for the Texas team, the corner for the Lone Star Glory, the one and only Bo Martin Jr. is in the house. What up, Bo?
Good evening. It is a glorious Tuesday evening. How's everybody doing out there?
We're doing great, bro. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Good.
And last but not least, whenever he's on the show, he's always in the unforgettable circle. The host of NETMA, the number one overall draft pick this season, Mr. Tyler Falk is with us. Tyler, what's going on, bro?
You know, Dave, I just got done pulling myself out of the water from being knocked out of the skies by those boats. So,
and we will definitely be talking about that. Of course, that's not till almost the end of the show, but we'll definitely get to it. Looks like Kendra's in the house, too. I saw Nate earlier. Didn't see Kendra's name, but now I see Kendra. Anybody else jumping in? And Freddie, real quick. right before we get things started. So, all right, let's talk about this week 5. This week 5 was interesting, you guys. It I guess I need my power ranking reminders. Remember, on Tuesdays, the power ranking numbers are from the previous game. So what you see on the slides, on the graphics, will be their power rankings when they played each other this past weekend. Got it. All right. Thank you, Wink. Appreciate that. Now we can move on. These were some kind of weird games, Coco, this week. There was a few things here that a lot of low scoring. Excuse me. I think there was like almost half the league scored 20 points or less this week. And this is one of those games that with they only had 23 points in the entire game between the two teams. What happened to the Houston offense that we actually saw get going the last couple of weeks? And is it really just Fort Worth Toros defense that's keeping them in games and winning games for them?
It's their defense. I mean, Houston could still explode at any time. I think they're having some troubles, that a lot of other teams have in certain games against certain defenses with their finesse backs. But yeah, I mean, it's Toros just slow down the pace. They only put up 7 points, and that's, you look at the takeaways, and when Houston typically puts up seven points, it's usually like they've gotten like six interceptions against them. That's not a common thing that you see, and that's what it was. They found a way to slow them down, and to Houston's benefit, Houston has had. It's Damon. You're going to get a good defense out of them, and it was a good defense, and it did stall them and stop them a lot. And that's one of the reasons why you see the score that you see, which is 16-7.
It's a weird score. First of all,
it is, and let me congratulate one of our panelists on getting his first touchdown of the season. He held out and waited for my wife to score first, which is usually what I do.
Hey, ladies first. Robert here, Jr., always the gentleman.
Always the best choice. But yeah, let me know. You know what? We got 1 minute left in our 3-minute gap that you've given us. So let me know what you would like to hear, Dave.
Well, what I want to know from you, and by the way, yes, everybody, we are trying to tighten the screws on this show. Here's the main question I want to know, and I'm looking over the offensive stats of Fort Worth. Fort Worth's defense, I feel, can only win so many games. They are going to need an offense that's going to score more than 16 points a game to win games coming down range. Agree or disagree, and tell me why or why not.
Agree. I mean, they are going to run into teams that are set up differently than a lot of the teams that they face so far, and a lot of teams that they haven't faced poor teams on defense. It's just I know what I've seen out there, and there's certain teams that'll be able to stop Williams and cut down on some of the plays that they like to throw with the 2 tight end sets. And granted, there's only so many changes you can make on a week by week basis, and it's really gonna be on them to see how they change their playbook, because they might need to see 150-yard games out of Hacker. They're going to have to stretch the field at some point against teams who aren't expecting it or planning for it.
Well, I'm not seeing a whole lot of offense in this game at all. Obviously, you have 2 of the best running backs in the league. One rush for 90 yards. I think one rush for 60 yards. I think a touchdown apiece, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was just 2 total. 4 interceptions between the quarterbacks. I think both these teams, to be honest with you, before we get to Jack's data, need to step up their offense. They can't win games just on defense. Jack's data had this over-under at 44.5, and they didn't come close to that. They had Fort Worth favored, though, by 6.5, so they definitely covered that. And SFL Nation, we come out the gate 135-66 for Fort Worth, 1-0 starting the weekend in the Who You Got. Moving on to game 2, Robert. Sioux Falls at Tulsa. We talked the other day. We thought this is going to be one of them. One of them's going to actually, somebody has to win the game, right? Somebody's going to get their act together and do something. And I think a lot of people expected it to be Sioux Falls, and it wasn't. Why not?
Yeah, Sioux Falls fought and scratched and clawed and did everything that they could to stay in this game, but Tulsa had an answer for them. And the answer this week was Sanzo Robinson. They finally get him going, give him 32 carries, 147 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. And, Sioux Falls, who, not only is known as a big run game team, which they did show up this week, Colin Hart 19 for 149 and 2 touchdowns. But, their defense just absolutely torn up by this Tulsa offense, who a lot of people questioned coming into this week.
Yeah, Sanzo definitely the difference in the game, although Colin Hart had an amazing game, right? 150 yards, basically 2 touchdowns. How weird is it, or how ironic is it that the two quarterbacks, of one very veteran quarterback and a rookie quarterback, had almost identical stats all the way through?
Yeah, it's kind of, you got to compare it, like you said, because, on one hand, JQ, a young rookie, playing like a veteran. Julian Tyree, though, a very veteran quarterback, been around a long time in this league. And, for him to be putting up the kind of numbers that he has this season, he's really struggling to kind of pull his weight for this offense and help them get going.
So let me ask this. You said Sanzo Robinson, and I agree with you. But him and so the 2 quarterbacks played very similar. The 2 running backs played very similar. So what was the difference in the game? What put Tulsa over the hump?
I mean, Tulsa was just able to come up with, they came up with a big interception. And, I was trying to look. Unfortunately, this weekend was having a lot of internet issues, didn't get to watch the games fully. And Tulsa has a touchdown that, isn't showing up even in like the game results. I was trying to figure that out headed into this.
Yeah, one of the things I see is definitely time of possession by Tulsa. So maybe keeping that Sioux Falls and keeping Corey Hart off the field a little bit, I'm sure didn't hurt. Jack's data on this game, check this out. 51.5, and they scored 47. That's pretty good. I love when Jack's data is really close like that. They had Tulsa favored by 3. They covered that. But unfortunately, SFL Nation, we took Sioux Falls 143-53. So, Robert, that's kind of what I was saying. I think most people expected Sioux Falls to finally get their first win of the season, and it did not work out for them. 143-53 in favor of Sioux Falls. So, SFL Nation, we go 1-1 now, moving into Game 3. Vancouver at LA. Bo, we built this on Thursday as the potential game of the week. Did it live up to the hype?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. So I mean, I think parts of it lived up to the hype, but there was a lot going on, and so let's kind of break it down. So Tom Pepper had an okay day. He did improve on his percentage from last week. He was able to complete 81% of his passes, going 27 for 33. He did throw 2 interceptions, though. He only had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He got sacked 3 times last week. So that part wasn't exactly the worst of it all. LA actually did their part to come away with the victory. Their defense did pretty good getting the 2 interceptions, but it just didn't seem enough to get their offense going. And the only thing they could get going was Robert Johnson, really. Robert Johnson did pretty good for LA with 30 rushes for 105 yards. But on the flip side of the ball, Vancouver couldn't get anything going with the running game. The LA defense held Robert Redford to 17 rushes for 42 yards. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was a good game. Final score 21-32. But there were, and I'm sure we'll hear about the game of the week later. But this wasn't it.
So I just got called out in the show chat. I said Corey Hart. I wear my sunglasses at night instead of Colin Hart. Yeah. Hey, sorry, bro. I grew up in the 80s, man. I don't have to tell you, James Walters, 87. You know what? That's the second time I've done that this season, actually. Somebody called me out on it a couple weeks ago, too. I guess I better get on the ball. Speaking of Colin Hart, though, only had, 47 yards? I think 40-something yards rushing, which I think they definitely needed for that game. But Robert Redford. You guys are confusing the hell out of me right now. Robert Redford, only 40-something yards rushing. Am I right, Bo?
Yeah, 42 yards rushing on 17 carries.
Yeah, Nate Hall says that safety by LA that made it 22-21 was the game changer. Yeah, I agree with that. What else? What else would you say was the game changer here, Bo? You know, I didn't get to see this game, unfortunately. I was gone that day. But from what I heard, LA jumped out to a big lead. Vancouver made it close late. Was Vancouver really in contention at all, or was it?
From what I saw of the game, LA dominated the game the majority of the game, and Vancouver they tried to draw close towards the end of the game, and that's why I said it wouldn't be the game of the week because, in my opinion, from watching the game was never really in doubt. Because every time that Vancouver started to get something going, a drive would stall out, or they couldn't move the ball when it came to the running game. And so, of course, as you know, if you can't establish a running game, you're not going to be able to get anything going at all. And so, unfortunately, now for Vancouver, they were 3-0, and now they've lost 2 games in a row. So now they're in quite the pickle, stuck at 3-2.
Yeah, they are. They've really dropped it. I mean, even after their first loss, we had them 4th in the power rankings. It'd be interesting to see how much they drop this week when we redo these for Thursday night. But yeah, like I mentioned, I'm sorry, Robert Redford, 42 yards. Dude, Vancouver can't win if Robert Redford rushes for 42 yards and Tom Pepper throws 2 interceptions.
No, they can't.
Especially if you're only going to throw 2 touchdowns. Now, if Peppers is in one of those modes where he's throwing 5 or 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, I get it. Obviously, LA's defense was ready for them, and we're ready for Jack's data, which had LA and Vancouver as a pick'em game. So that was easy. The over-under 69.5. They expected more. I think they expected at least another 10 points from Vancouver, which they did not get. Over-under of 69.5. Only 53 scored in this game. And SFL Nation, after coming out 1-0, we now drop to 1-2 in the Who You Got losing this one. We took Vancouver in a close race, only 13 vote difference, 106 to 93. So 1-2 going into game 4, which is, to me, Tyler, possibly the most shocking game, except that on Thursday, we did talk about St. Louis going in DC being a trap game. And I think that's kind of what it ended up being, exactly what we got to see.
No, you're completely correct there, Dave. DC came out with the right game plan on defense just to shut down Christian Brown. Christian Brown only had 50% passing on the day. It only managed just over 200 yards. So it was very much so a trap game. But at the same time, I think it was more of a youth versus experience type of ball game too. Even though St. Louis's offense is, just under an average season life of 2 seasons with, Guy Clausen as a rookie and Christian Brown as a rookie.
Right.
The entire offense is in their second season with the team. Whereas DC, besides synergy, is primarily rookies. So it shows the path that DC can take with their entire team to go out and, be the next St. Louis, develop their team. But in the end, the defense just wasn't enough to hold on to the lead, and St. Louis just, set themselves up by intercepting synergy 4 times, returning to the house once. So I think St. Louis's defense won the game for St. Louis rather than the offense coming in and winning the game.
Winkler put a freaking timer on here.
I love it.
Hey, so here's the funny thing about this, right? Here for me, Tyler. Number 1, I did think it was a trap game. Number 2, Christian Brown did just enough management to squeak out a victory. But to me, the difference was, and almost always is, the defense of St. Louis. St. Louis always has a good defense, and this time they were able to, pick off the ball 4 times and really kill a lot of DC momentum. Do you think that was the difference in the game, in a game this close?
The difference
100%.
was definitely the Winkler interception. Sorry, I
Yeah.
cough.
Did Winkler play?
Winkler played. He definitely showed up in a big way. The entire defense showed up and played well. So I'll just repeat what I said. This defense won the game for St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Cairo Martinez. We talked about, I think Robert Garrett Jr. talked about it the last week. 23 rushes for only 55 yards. in St. Louis. That's not going to get it done against some of these other teams when they hit the hard part of their schedule. Looks like we got 30 seconds. I guess we're just making the time up as we go. Jack's data had this over under 48.5, only 30 points scored in there. I actually thought 48.5 was a little high anyway. I think they were expecting maybe St. Louis to score some more. They had St. Louis favored by 7.5, definitely did not cover. But SFL Nation, we're back in the win column, baby. 155-44. We took St. Louis to go 2-2 through the first 4 games on Saturday. Moving on to game number 5. Another game that I think, Coco, could have been billed as a game of the week, depending on what you were going to get. A high-flying Atlanta offense versus a high-flying Jacksonville offense. Both a lot of big names, both on the offensive side and the defensive side for both teams. It looks like it was a close game, only won by a touchdown. How'd you see it?
Well, luckily I watched this game. For some reason, when I prepared, I did not prepare for this game. I actually,
I was looking at you like a little. You were looking like a deer in the headlights there for a minute. I'm like,
wow, like I thought I had like
I had to look back at my notes
name.
to make sure I had your name next to Atlanta.
He almost got a "you're muted, bro." That's how long the pause was.
Hey, deer in the headlights, bro.
But again, luckily, of course, this is a game. Jacksonville, of course, is always one of the people that we like to play the most. So when Jacksonville plays, it's something that we watch, and everyone in the league can always learn something from Boo when you watch him coach. So again, this was something that was anticipated as a good game, and something you wanted to see how Jacksonville reacted coming out from the loss last week, right? I think that was last week. Yeah. Pretty sure it was. Yeah,
they lost to Lone Star last week, in case you didn't know. You need a reminder? Okay, just let you know, Jacksonville lost to Lone Star last week when they were going for their 100th victory, which they got in this game, by the way.
And yes, and they did, and congratulations to them. But of course, I always hate talking about games when you have such a large injury that impacts the flow of the game, because let's face it, when Siege Falco goes down, they run 2 wide receivers, When Siege goes down and all you got is Boo and then your 2 tight ends, it's just not. And that's really what happened here, is the game really slowed down. And it wasn't a bad, like, you're going to see 4 interceptions for Brian Dynasty. But again, when you have a generic in there running around, you're going to throw interceptions. It's just like, especially since, Dynasty has had a rough start to the season.
He really has.
He's just, sorry.
He's having the epitome of a sophomore slump, right?
He is, but he's we all could see that he's going to get over the hump, but Atlanta's just had some really bad luck with injuries so far this season. But again,
Tyler staying alive with that 2-10 prediction. Coco, let me ask you this real quick. Anytime Christian Christensen doesn't throw a lot of picks, Jacksonville has a chance to win. But like the last game, I said I was concerned. I think it was the last game, a couple of games ago, whatever. I was concerned about Robert Redford. I'm actually more concerned with BDG. I'm sorry, I was St. Louis running back, Cairo Martinez. Sorry. I'm more concerned about BDG Hollywood. 8 carries for only 24 yards from one of the best running backs in the league. What's going on with him again this season? Quick answer, since we're out of time.
Finesse back.
Really? You think that's it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the power backs have a much easier time with that shoulder charge. It is. If you're someone who Sims, you see it. So
got it. All right. Well, Atlanta at Jacksonville conjured up 47 points with an over/under of 51.5, so they were really close there. Jacksonville was favored by 3, so they covered, but it was a close game, like Jack's data thought. And we are now on a 2-game winning streak, SFL Nation. What do you know? 136-59. We took Jacksonville. So 3-2 going into game 6, the nightcap for Saturday. Las Vegas at Arizona. This is a game. I don't remember exactly what I said on Thursday, but I guaranteed something with Arizona, and I can't remember what it was. I don't know if I guaranteed victory or what. I'd have to go back on the show and look and see what is. How does a running back get 8 carries a build issue? SFO. Cam's asking Coco, how does a running back getting only 8 carries? How is that a build issue? I don't know if it's a build issue. I think he's talking about the yardage, because you can carry the ball 8 times and get 80 freaking yards, right, Coco? But instead of just 24, is that what you're trying to say?
You continuously get stuff at the line, and the AI doesn't run it as much. I wouldn't know because I don't have finesse back, and I didn't see anything happen in my sims this week against 3 linebackers.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's get the timer going again, Wink. Let's get back on track, I guess. Arizona hosting Las Vegas, Robert. Wasn't sure how this game was going to go overall. I'm pretty sure I predicted Arizona, or I took them in the Survivor pool or something. Las Vegas doesn't play as well away from home. And Arizona, I think, was desperately needing a victory after so many close calls, which they got. How'd they get it?
Yeah, I mean, they really just let Ashley Jackson do her thing on offense. One of the primary things, completed 28 passes of 38 attempts, 333 yards, only 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. But, once they got within the red zone, they just looked towards DJ Moses, 21 carries for 66 yards, 2 touchdowns. And to top it off, their defense was able to come in tight. Iverson Gamble, 3 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6. Just all over Las Vegas's offense. And Colin Pierce, 5 interceptions. One of these rocky games for the rookie.
Usually if AJ throws 2, 3, 4 interceptions, what'd she throw? 2 or 3? 2?
2.
It's either going to be a close game or Arizona could possibly be on the losing end. Luckily, Arizona's defense came up big, like you mentioned, 5 interceptions. But was it just all the defense? Because I'm looking at the box score right now. It was 27-0 at the end of the third quarter, Robert. It looks like this game might have it was 20-0 at halftime. It seems like this game was over early, and I don't know if a lot of these picks were just garbage time and, Vegas slinging the ball because they had to catch up, or did they just really dominate the game the way the box score looks?
I mean, I think they pretty much just dominated the game. The interceptions obviously helped, but Scott Johnson, 17 for 74 yards and no touchdowns. Generally, when Scott Johnson has a good game, that's when Vegas excels the most. And he really just wasn't able to get anything going. And, the ice cream on top was the interceptions, as we said.
Yeah. What do you have? 17 carries for 74 yards. No, didn't see the end zone at all. DJ Moses didn't have a great game either. He actually technically had a worse game as far as rushing goes, although he did see the end zone twice. 21 carries for 66 yards. It just seemed like everybody's slinging the ball over the place and receptions going to everybody, including both defenses.
Yeah, once you get inside the 20, that's when you can look at a running back like DJ Moses and really able to rely on them, give them the ball, and let them find their way there. Because defenses get more and more stingy the closer backed up they are to their end zone.
Eddie Gage just said he's trying hard to get DJ going, but, sometimes the game dictates. Tyler said in there, Johnson, 4.4 yards per carry, Tyler. You're right. That's great. Overuse of Pierce for sure to throw, 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I mean, it's just a lot to ask, especially of a rookie quarterback. All right, Robert. Thank you, bro. Jack's Data had this. This is, I think, the closest one Jack's Data had. They had a lot of close ones, but this one was like right on the money. Over under 57.5. They scored 58 points in the game. Las Vegas was actually favored by 3.5 in this game, surprisingly. And Arizona made sure they did not cover that. And what do you know, SFL Nation? We wrap up Saturday with another victory to go 4-2, taking Arizona 134-71 in the Who You Got. So 4-2 is not too shabby for a day. That's looking pretty good. Hey, Wink, do we know, did Gunny make it home yet? Is Gunny around? Is he in the room?
He's here.
Gunny's here.
Sweet, yeah. Gunny. Well, I'm waiting for Ray to put the lyrics in. I know Wink's probably got the music already queued up, Gunny. So as soon as you're ready to do your Pearls of Wisdom, the show is all yours.
Good evening, SFL. Welcome to week 6 of the SFL. Gunny started soccer practice tonight for his U10 youth soccer team. So he's going to give love to the people that use their feet in the SFL, the kickers. There have been 12 kickers that have not missed a field goal yet this season. Out of those 12 kickers, leading the charge is Shark Tarkenton with 15 of 15 for the Baltimore Vultures. The most field goal attempts has been 16 by Amy Shalizzi. She did miss one field goal. I do not have any stats of who has kicked the longest field goal or the most field goals of 50-plus yards. Also, there is 20 contract kickers. The only 4 teams without contracted kickers are Lone Star Glory, Houston, DC, and Vancouver. And with that, good luck to all the left foots, the right foot, the kickers between the posts, in the corners for the punts. And that is all for this week.
Nice, Gunny. Thank you. Hey, Wink, bro, we can't put Gunny on a clock, man. Gunny gets all the time he wants. He earned it.
I'll be on mute, so you
Oh,
have,
there
no
you go.
idea
Would
what
you
you have no idea what it says when the time runs out.
Well, I have a minute and a half to. Are we just all going to sit here and start wait for it?
We're going to sit here in suspense.
Wait, is this supposed to be for Gunny's only?
Let's do that. Yeah, we're gonna.
So if he has his own timer, will you be able to adjust it?
We'll do this.
Yeah,
can
put
do
it in
what
like 10 seconds.
I can do what I
The
want.
suspense is killing everyone, Wink.
I can do what I want.
Here we go. Bum, 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 bum.
Rubber
Gunny has no time, bro. But bro.
Oh, bro.
Bro. Gunny has no time, but bro. Dude, I told you this this show was going to be something else tonight. It's the wheels are already coming off. I can already sense it. This is terrible. All right, so I guess maybe we should talk some more football. What do you guys think? Should we do that? What the hell? Oh yeah, that's a good point. You know what? You see what Cam just put in the chat? He said it should say "that is all" when the timer hits 0. That's a good point.
What are we, Porky the Pig?
What are we? Dude, because that's what he says at the end of his thing. That is all.
Who? Oh,
Yeah.
Gunny. Oh.
Gunny, hello. Not the other one. You're out of time, bro. For these guys, sounds
Dude,
good.
I'm so fast. I'm running track. Come on now.
Look at dude. And then Charles wants a loud buzzer. Oh my god, could you imagine how annoying that would be on Twitch?
I can play. I can do that. I can play a sound. Don't make me play a sound.
Uh-oh. Hey, the most annoying sound in the world? We don't want that, bro. All right, somebody in here said, pay attention to your own show, bro. All right, I guess, Cam, damn. I guess we'll get back on track. Jeez Louise.
Listen, Cam. This addition to the timer was an impromptu thing, all right?
Cam just stole my line. I was just about to say Cam's voice, and he said Dave's voice in the chat. You're lucky you beat me to it, bro. All right, let's get back to football or something, man. What the hell? What the hell's going on here? Bo Martin Jr., you hear anything about a Denver-Louisiana game that's supposed to be pretty good, and maybe Louisiana kind of using this as to kind of get back to being Louisiana, but it didn't happen. What happened?
Yeah, this was the perfect game for Louisiana to say, you know what, we ain't dead yet. And instead, I almost want to call it. I'm not going to do it, but I almost want to call it. So, Louisiana had just another case of close but no cigar. They stayed competitive, but they just couldn't do enough to pull it together. I mean, Denver coming in, with everything to lose, they're one of 2 only undefeated teams left in the league, and it had all the makings of maybe a trap game.
Yeah.
But Denver did not fall for it. They came in. Josh Miller came ready to play. He put up 329 yards. He did throw 2 interceptions, but he was being pressured a lot. But
I think in the SFL, anytime a quarterback throws more touchdowns and interceptions in a game, it's a victory for that quarterback.
Yeah, true. And that's 100% true. And he did do 3 and 2, so he went 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He got sacked 4 times. So Louisiana was getting pressure. So, with 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, Louisiana was getting to him. The saving grace for Denver was that they were able to throw the ball successfully, and that beast of a running back there, Jarek McChesney, 24 rushes for 105 yards. And then at top one of that, he added another 28 yards in receiving yards with 4 receptions. On the flip side of the ball, you had Louisiana. Now, I'm not going to pick on Johnny Pickler. I'm just going to read the stats. Johnny Pickler was 6 of 28 for 159 yards with 0 touchdowns and an interception. So like you just said, usually when you have more touchdowns and interceptions, you win the game. Well, he had 0 and 1. Reggie Streeter did his part to try to get his running game going, 21 carries for 113 yards. But here's what struck me as huge for Louisiana. Reggie Streeter, one of the best runners out there to put him in the flat, 0 receptions. And that to me is very telling on how Louisiana lost this game. Reggie Streeter was not involved at all in the passing game, and it basically allowed the defense to just pin back their ears and go after Johnny Pickler. And it didn't. They had no reason to slow down for John.
It looks like Reggie at least had a good ground game, right? 113, right? I think he had a touchdown. But let me ask you this, Bo, since time's running out. So, dude, like Wink's got us on a serious clock now. We've talked about Denver playing Baltimore and Sioux Falls and Arizona already this season, and I am on record for saying they have not been challenged. Did Louisiana challenge them?
No.
Even a 7-point game? That's not a challenge? It was a game not as close as the score looks?
The game was not as close as the score looks, and I put that on, and Johnny would appreciate me saying this because I'm going to hold him accountable. I put that on his shoulders.
Okay. Well, Jack's data had this game at 52.5 with 47 points. That's pretty close. Louisiana was a 10.5-point underdog, so they actually covered. And SFL Nation starting Sunday off the same way we started Saturday with a victory, 160 to only 37. We took Denver moving into game 2. Carolina at Charleston. Tyler, we talked about a couple of these other games being potentially the game of the week. This was the game of the week.
Absolutely the game of the week. First 3 quarters, back and forth, really tight, contested ball game. You stayed for the fourth quarter. 30 points scored between the two of the teams in the fourth quarter alone. Everybody got their money's worth. What a game. And just in case you don't know who the star of that game was for Carolina, Whistle Jones, 6 of 6, perfect on the day, and Carolina did just enough to get into field goal range at the end of the game, and that's all she wrote, folks.
I mean, what a crazy last couple minutes. I mean, if you didn't watch this game, just go to the SFL YouTube page, go to like the last 2.5, 3 minutes, whatever it is, and you're going to see 3 scores. Right, back to back to back. Crazy game. I thought Buchanan pulled one out again like he did a couple weeks ago. And then Harish said, young fella, I'm going down the sideline to put us in game-winning field goal position. Incredible game by all the receivers in that game. Talk to me about Xander Gold. We've been a little harsh on him. He's had some pretty bad games. Threw for almost 400 yards. And again, more touchdowns and interceptions, 2-1. Whereas TD Drew almost threw for 400 yards as well, but he was 3-3. In a game that close, one interception make the difference?
Yeah, and it shows to the game plan of both teams, right? Charleston, their game plan is getting into the end zone, where Carolina's game plan coming into the game was, let's just get points however much we can. And they were content with getting field goals, and they kicked 6 of them. So Xander Gold was efficient, and he wasn't he didn't waste any of his throws, or he wasted one of his throws, if you want to look at it that way. So he was much more the calm, conservative quarterback on the field on Saturday or on Sunday.
Yeah, Charleston holding Logan Jack to only 79 yards is pretty impressive. But on the flip side, Swearingen only 63 of his own. So this is all passing all the way around. Cam just made an interesting comment in the chat. Charleston is 2 game-winning field goals away from being 5-0. Not too shabby, Charleston. How do you see these two teams moving on from this week, Tyler?
I'm still a little stumped on Carolina. From the beginning of the season, they like to do a lot more swing passes. That still is the case, coming into these later games as we go out through the season. But I'm a little skeptical. I'm a little skeptical of Carolina. I think if there was a team to be overrated at above 500, I think Carolina's more so the overrated team. And then Charleston, probably one of the underrated teams that's, below 500, or they're above 500, I should say. So they deserve to be 3-2, and they should be, if a certain couple of results, like Cam said, go their way, they're at 5-0. So Charleston definitely a team to watch out for.
Gotcha. Tyler, is there something you want to tell us? Charles just announced in the chat that Tyler flat caps now available on Sector 6 with your team's logo. Jack's Data had this game 45.5 over under, and they blew that out of the water with 62 points. Charleston favored by 3.5. That's super close. And SFL Nation, we did not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Charleston was favored by 3.5. They did not cover. Sorry. We took Charleston 150 to only 49. So we begin Sunday 1-1, just like we began Saturday 1-1. So let's see. Maybe we'll get lucky. We'll come out 4-2 again, like we did on Saturday. Moving on to Game 3, Queen City at Baltimore. I don't even know what to say about Queen City right now, Coco. I feel bad for them. They just don't seem to be themselves. They're in that same area with Sioux Falls, as far as I'm concerned, and they are struggling to put points on the board. And then, in the midst of all those struggles, you get to go to Baltimore and have Baltimore put almost 40 on you.
Did you watch the game?
I did not.
So this is really what happened, and it really was a crazy game. And I don't know if it was some parts Baltimore playing it safe, but Queen City actually put together a pretty good game plan. They were able to. I think they were up 10-7. It was like 7-7 in the first, and then they went up 10-7. They were able to contain Baltimore, and it wasn't really until like the last 4 minutes of the half in which Baltimore scored really quick, and then right after that, they were able to stop QCC, and then their 2-minute playbook came out, and in their 2-minute drill, they were able to expose, QCC right up the middle using their 2 tight ends, and they have they have 2 amazing tight ends. It's just disgusting when you look at that roster. But that's the thing is, and then it just pretty much stopped going into the last 2 quarters. Like time evaporated, much like the timer that I'm looking at that still has 2 minutes left.
I don't know that I'll have time in the next 1 minute and 40 seconds. There's a lot of pressure with this clock now, Wink. To look everything up.
Coco asked for it. I
know.
Delivered.
Look at you.
I'm just saying.
I did not ask for it.
Hey, how come Wink? You should pause it when you're talking. It's not right that you're taking time away from us.
I'm helping you.
I'm helping you not beat the clock. Queen City, Coco. I'd have to be looking through, but I'd be willing to bet AJ Caswell has thrown a lot of interceptions in all their losses, and maybe in their 1 win he has it. What's going on with AJ this season? And how do they right the ship in Queen City? Jet Zero had an okay game, 100 yards on the ground, but he didn't see the end zone.
I mean, again, it's different for them. I'm trying to think if they have anybody on the offensive line, because I think was it Kingseed who they lost in the offseason?
No, Kingseed's our guy.
Yeah.
Anybody in the chat, throw it in there.
He retired. He was a good coach too. I think he's still in the minors. Okay. Anyway,
King.
Griffin King. Thank you.
Oh, Griffin King. There you go.
I had the King. And Griffin King. I think he was a big part of that team, and that's one of the things I think you see with Caswell is he has more pressure on him. He's getting sacked a little bit more, and also when you lose that offensive line, sometimes your running game has to adapt. Jet Zero, he had 5 yards per carry, and he did respectable. And Hub is new, and I think Hub is something that they're still working on incorporating. I know even when like Lone Star last year, it took about half the season before you guys really got Kaliart involved in the running game. So, and that's the thing is, even now I'm looking at the stat line. I think I see Hub had like zeros across the board. So that's
well. Speaking of zeros across the board, time's up, bro. Hey, but before we talked a lot about Queen City, so before we move on to the next game, I do want to say a few things about Baltimore. Jack Wigmore played out of his mind. 358 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick. T-Roy Gaines struggling again with only 44 yards rushing, but Ivory Irvin, who I thought was the best, one of the best, if not the best wide receiver last season, 10 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown. Jack Wigmore just slinging the ball all over the place. So congrats to Baltimore for a really huge home win against Queen City. Jack's Data had this game 48.5 over under, and they scored 51 points. So again, a really close one for Jack's Data. They seem to be crushing it in the over under. This was the one game I said was a little weird with the spread. 8-point favorite Baltimore. They blew that out of the water. I thought 8 was kind of weird anyway, but I guess at the end it doesn't matter. And SFL Nation, this might be, I don't know if this is the largest margin I've ever seen in the Who You Got, but it's got to be up there. You guys moved to 2-1. You took Baltimore 188 to only 16 votes for Queen City. So that's crazy. There's not a lot of SFL Nation confidence in Queen City right now. Moving on to my favorite game of the weekend, Lone Star at London, Robert Garrett Jr. I love that you get to talk about this game. Lone Star came out the box in week 1 and played Florida really well. Hit a couple speed bumps, but the last 2 weeks, beating Jacksonville and now beating a London team that a lot of people thought was on the up and coming team, playing very well. Played Baltimore last week, really close in Baltimore, all that stuff. And Lone Star pretty much dominated this game.
Yeah, I can really sum up the downfall of London with one number, Dave, and that number is 5. 5 is the total rushing yards that Robert Merrill had by the end of the game. And, a lot of times, if you heard that, you'd give a lot of praise to the opposing defense. But quite the opposite. They didn't need to worry about him because Robert Merrill only got to carry the ball 8 times.
Yeah.
And, Angus McLean's played way better than he has in previous seasons so far. But I still don't know that he's a quarterback you could lean that heavily on. And I think that was a big part of the downfall for London.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me, and I don't know if you watched the whole game or not, Robert, but when I could tell that Robert Merrill was really just having issues, which I think he's been having all season anyway, a wide open swing pass. It wasn't even a swing pass. It was more of a screen pass because he was facing the quarterback, and it literally just bounced off his chest on the ground. He wasn't even catching a very simple, short screen pass from his quarterback. So I don't know what's going on. And this is the guy who used to be a wide receiver, right? So I don't know what's going on with Robert Merrill. Angus didn't play terrible. Two touchdowns, 2 picks, 263 yards. But you're going to have some kind of running game, which is hard to do against Lone Star anyway. On the Lone Star side, though, Ace played well, right? 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. What do you think about this passing game of Lone Star the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the offense for Lone Star as a whole is really a complete change-up from what we saw even in last season, where last season Lone Star was able to heavily rely on Ike McBride and Cam Collier, and only have Ace Finnick really make big plays when he needs to. But this season it's been really exciting as really the playbook's been opened up for Ace, and the offense has really become his show.
Anytime Ace doesn't throw interceptions, he threw 0 interceptions again. I think he's done that a couple times this season. We're obviously going to be in a good position to win the game. Do you think, though, last question, Robert, the way that we use 2 running backs, if you combine the stats of Ike and Cam, like we did last season, I think if you combine them, they were like 1,300 yards rushing and all that kind of stuff, multiple touchdowns. If you combine them together, they rush for over 100 yards in the game between the 2 of them. Is that enough to get it done with the way Ace is playing now?
Yeah, I think it is. And, the big part about that is their yards per carry. Cam's was 4.2 and Ike had 4.9. So when you're averaging, almost 5 yards every time you touch the ball, it doesn't really matter from an offensive perspective what happens because you can just keep moving the ball.
Absolutely. Well, Jack's Data had Lone Star favored by 6. They blew that out of the water. Over under, again, Jack's Data, man. Dude, Hunter's crushing it. Over under 50.5 with 47 points. He's like right there. He's close every time. And then another win for SFL Nation, a 2-game winning streak now on Sunday as well. 110-89, so it was pretty close. But in favor of Lone Star, moving into Game 5. Mexico City of Florida. I would say this is probably the runner-up for game of the week, Tyler? I mean, it looks like you had the other one too, right? Carolina Charleston game and this game were probably the two most exciting games at the end.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, the one thing that I'm looking at this game for is the Ducks, as Matt Wilson would call them, that he threw to the cornerback position. All 3 interceptions that he threw went to cornerback. So it just was really interesting to see that Florida's defense, hasn't lost a whole lot, and Florida in general right now has really come into their own. 4-1 now, and I don't know if they've tipped their hand now about how they're going to run it, but I gotta say, Florida had a very complete, balanced attack. It was run to perfection. Cochran 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Beletsky over 100 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Florida had a very solid game plan and a very solid day. They looked, even though they were neck and neck with Mexico City the entire way, Florida looked more in control than Mexico City.
We've talked about how efficient Ron Cochran is for the most part, on this show many times. What's interesting to me though is when you have a quarterback that's throwing for 80% completion, almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no. Anyway, Mexico City still almost did it. They still almost pulled it off. But how do you beat something like that anyway, Tyler?
You just got to play mistake-free football yourself, and that just wasn't the case. Ron Cochran and company, played mistake-free football. Mexico City and Wilson did not. So that's how it all worked out.
I do. Phoenix Jones, was it last week? He had like 4 touchdowns. 150 yards rushing, whatever it was. This week though, against the Florida defense, he only was able to muster up 40 yards on 13 carries with 0 touchdowns. He didn't see the end zone at all. Mexico City's going to need more consistency from Phoenix Jones for sure, right?
I have to agree 100% with that.
I mean, Ray Bentley saw the end zone. He rushed for 69 yards, so maybe they're kind of doing the Lone Star thing where they're running 2 guys, and if they can get over 100 yards between the 2 of them, Ray Bentley averaged almost 6 yards per carry anyway. And how was the passing game for Mexico City?
It was hit or miss for Mexico City. Close to 300 yards for Matt Wilson himself, 3 touchdowns. But like I said, those interceptions were costly, and he wasn't that bad, Matt Wilson. But at the same time, when you're playing against a mistake-free quarterback in Ron Cochran, especially in this game where we know that Ron Cochran can play mistake-free, you have to kind of emulate that, if not play better than Ron.
Well, and Mike Daggs, the second best tight end in the game behind Adam Williams, only had 3 receptions for 58 yards. He kind of really hasn't gotten on track yet either.
No, especially not for being, one of the best players last season. There seems to be a disconnect for a lot of, high-valued players. Not to mention, Daggs, but Optimus Klein for San Diego.
Yeah,
has really gotten together.
And these other running backs. You're right, Tyler. And you know what? Maybe that has to do with the fact that we're playing on Legends mode, and maybe defenses are better now. I don't know. But Jack, what I do know, what Jack's data had to say, they had an over-under of 51.5, and obviously they blew that out of the water with 72 points. Florida was favored by 3, which was pretty much, I mean, they were only up 7 before that interception at the end, so that was actually really close as well. And we now have a 3-game win streak, SFL Nation, 154-49. We took Florida going into the last game of the weekend, Bo Martin Jr. Portland at San Diego. I said on Thursday, this is one of my games to watch because I thought these two teams were going to be so close. I thought San Diego had a chance to pull out their first victory at home, but what happened?
This game was everything that you would expect 2-0-4 teams to be.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and listen, Tyler, I'm sorry. You may want to turn your headset down a little bit, buddy, because it's not going to be pretty. So, the bad thing is Portland ended up looking like the better team, but only because San Diego was clearly the worst team. Not to say that Portland not to say that Portland played great, because they didn't. They made Matt South look like a superstar, 26, right? Three touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He did get sacked 3 times. Ezekiel Love didn't have a great day, only 20 rushes for 72 yards, averaging 3.6 yards a carry. However, looking at San Diego, like I said, they made Portland look like superstars. Javier Vasquez, first of all, threw the ball 56 times. 56 times. And out of those 56, he only completed 34 passes, which is 60%. Now, what makes that worse is he had a 50-yard long. So if you subtract that 50 yards from that one pass, out of those 34 passes, he only got 236 yards, 33 remaining passes. Now, what really concerns me most, Jalen Wells. San Diego's got a problem at running back. And we all knew it was going to be a rough transition with Jalen Wells coming over from Sioux Falls. We knew it was going to take time, but San Diego's running out of time. They are getting 0 production from their running back spot. 10 rushes for 12 yards. And now, I hate to say it, San Diego's got to tell, because you can tell San Diego does not want to go to their running back, and they're playing like that. So defenses are going to start queuing in on that, and they're going to start going after Javier Vasquez. And that's the reason why he got sacked 5 times. Got sacked 5 times, intercepted twice, because they know Jalen Wells isn't touching the ball, and that's a problem for San Diego.
So if Jalen Wells is struggling and Javier Vasquez is struggling and they can't get the ball to Optimus Klein, what does San Diego do to start being competitive and maybe win some ball games?
Where Optimus Klein was. I mean, I haven't seen Optimus in weeks. San Diego really, you would think they would be utilizing him, and you'd think Connor Weston would have had a great game with this being his homecoming. He's playing against his former team, so you'd think he'd want to show out. He ended up with 4 receptions. He did get a touchdown, but 4 receptions for 33 yards. And that's just not going to cut it. They got to start getting it to their best receivers, if you can call them that. But they haven't even included Optimus in their game plan at all. And if I'm Optimus, I am really showing my colors, because I'm like, throw me the freaking ball. I'm doing my best Terrell Owens impression, asking them, why am I not getting the ball?
On the flip side, we've been a little hard on Matt South on this show because he's played some pretty bad games. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, almost 300 yards, getting it done to the likes of Gene Valentine, who had 3 touchdowns, over 111 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. If Ezekiel Love rushes for 72 yards on 20 carries, it's only 3.5 yards per carry. If Ezekiel Love bumps his game up just a little bit, is the passing game good enough for Portland to win a lot more games?
They got work to do. I know we're out of time, so I'll keep it short. They've got work to do. Ezekiel Love needs to get his numbers up. Passing game has got to be more consistent. You notice I didn't mention some of the important names. Like, I didn't mention Nelson Lozano, and I didn't mention several others because they weren't really involved in the passing game.
Right.
Other than who I mentioned, I think let's see, Gary Clem Art Vandelay had 11 receptions. John Valentine had 7. Other than that, I don't think they had any more receivers with more than 5 receptions.
Yeah.
So they've got to start getting some of their more important receivers.
They didn't have one. I don't think with more than 3 after those 2 guys.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and Nelson and Benjamin are both very, talented tight ends. They're just not getting the ball, and they're not.
Got to get them involved in the game.
Yep. Jack's Data, another really close one by Jack's Data. Check this out. Over under was 41.5. They scored 42 points in the game. I mean, you can't write it better than that. This game was a pick'em, so nobody covered anything. I think if you go by pick'em, you got to move on to the who you got, and in this case, SFL Nation ends the weekend on a 4-game winning streak, taking Portland 123-85 to go 5-1 on Sunday and 9-3 overall to tie them for the best record they've had in a week. I think that was back in week 2. So SFL Nation crushing things just like Jack's Data is lately. That wraps up the week 5 game recaps by our panel. Let's move on to our week 5 Diva of the Week nominees. I don't know if Eagle and Wink have any. I'm going to have to call them in because I didn't get theirs. But while we're waiting to hear that, we will start with Coco. And Coco, who is your season 16, week 5 Diva of the Week nominee?
First, it's 10:03. That's amazing.
Dude, it's amazing how much pressure that clock puts on us.
All right, now 10 minutes on Diva. Okay.
Usually we're at 10:30 right now.
So honorable mention to Eddie for being the number one scout in Arizona this week.
Yes.
So
As opposed to other weeks.
it's simple. People have called it the game of the week, and while he is a pain in the chat, a pain in the Discord, and a pain in most people's sims, he's always a pleasure to watch. He's Mighty's fine prince, Harish Prasad, for that long catch at the end of the game to set them up for the game-winning field goal.
Gotcha. Eagle, what you just DM'd me, that'll work. Let me know if you're able to come on. If not, I'll say it for you. All right, Coco, thank you. Robert Garrett Jr., who is your season 16, week 5 Diva of the Week nominee. Oh, by the way, real quick, before you say yours, Coco, also Harish carried that over to this morning when he got kicked out a whole bunch of spam guys in the Gen chat this morning. So a little icing on the cake there for Harish for Diva of the Week. Robert Garrett Jr., who's your season 16, week 5 Diva of the Week nominee?
Yeah, I stayed pretty close to home for my week 5 Diva of the Week nominee.
Oh, you mean like Lone Star?
No, not quite. A little bit
like
closer.
Houston? Oh, closer. Okay.
So my argument is it's not every day that quarterback hits a large number interception total, and E.T. King headed into the game on Saturday, dropped back with 199 career interceptions, threw the ball across the field, and the man to catch that 200th was none other than Nacho Sicario. So he is my nominee for the week.
Dude, what is this? Is this going to be all owners getting Diva of the Week nominees this week, or what's going on here? All right, Nacho Sicario, Diva of the Week nominee from Robert Garrett Jr. for who was that? Who threw their 100th pick? Robert?
It was E.T. King, and it was his 200th.
Oh, sorry. Wow. Okay, 200 interceptions. All right, Bo Martin Jr., who is your season 16, week 5 Diva of the Week nominee?
So I was watching the games, and there was I got to this one particular game, and it was a great game. And Jacksonville was really struggling, and they lost to us last week, which I'm sure they weren't too happy about. And they were putting up a good fight, but they were on their way to losing their second game in a row. And there was this rookie who just kept coming out of nowhere, and he absolutely stuffed BDG. And he spied BDG the entire game, but that's not the Diva moment. But he spied BDG the entire game and held BDG to 24 yards. Every time BDG got the ball, he was on him. He never got anything going. However, when the game was in doubt in the fourth quarter with just over 5 minutes left, Jacksonville down 17-20, this rookie saw an errant pass, intercepted the pass, running it back 37 yards for the pick six and the game-winning touchdown. And that rookie linebacker is none other than Jay Mart. Jay Mart's my Diva of the Week.
All right. Yeah, that was great, actually. Good call there, Bo. All right, Tyler, it's on you now. Season 16, week 5, Diva of the Week nominee.
Well, we're going to stick on defense, and we're actually going to pick on your team a little bit here, Dave.
How are you going to pick on my team? We crushed.
Well, you guys crushed, except for one important area of the football field, and that was in the trenches, where William Davidson...
I was going to say before the game. I don't know where you're going with that.
In the trenches, where William Davidson went back-to-back plays for tackles, not just to move him, you get 2 sacks in the season, but it moved him from 7th place all-time to 6th place all-time. So that's great. In the words of Andy Hellman, that's great. Stand up and clap. That's 2 sacks. He followed it up by getting 2 more sacks, and those 2 sacks, making him for a total of 4, put him in 5th spot alone all time.
Oh,
so the thing is just like Andy Hamilton said in the broadcast, stand up and clap for moving up 1 spot in the all-time rankings. It's a huge accomplishment to go up 2 spots in the same game.
Hey, isn't William Davidson, is that Liam's player? Does anybody know? So we have 3 owners. We now have 3 owners nominated for Diva of the Week. I guess I better change mine real quick. Apparently, I need to find an owner. All right, 3 out of 4 so far. Moving on to Gunny. Gunny, you around still?
Yeah, my pick's not an owner though.
Thank goodness. Thank you, Gunny. At least somebody's got it going on tonight. What's up? Who you got? Who's your season 16 week 5 Diva of the Week nominee, Gunny?
I'm going to go with defense as well. I love my defensive back brothers. For 2 weeks in a row, he has thwarted scoring chances by the other team near the end of the games. This week's Diva of the Week is Ryan Davidson of the Florida Storm.
Yeah, he took Mexico City's heart out at the end of that game. That's a great pick too, Gunny. Wink, before I move on to Eagles, do you have a Diva of the Week nominee this week, or are you going to go same as last week with nobody?
Nobody. I might have one this weekend. I'm in the midst of a move. I'm changing locations, so I was packing all weekend. So I watched the St. Louis Gladiators go 5-0 for the first time in franchise history. Other than that, nothing else mattered.
Nothing big, no big deal. So yeah, see, you should have nominated your own team like Robert did. All right. Eagle is feeding Elsie, I believe. Yeah, I don't see her. I don't see him in the chat. So I will say his. So last week, Jacksonville went to Lone Star to try to get their 100th victory and came up short. This week, however, they did not come up short, and they did get their 100th SFL victory. They are only the second team to do so, and they did it the fastest so far. So Eagles Diva of the Week is Jacksonville, the whole freaking team, I guess, the whole city. I mean, for having 100 wins, being the second franchise with 100 wins, plus being the fastest team to ever do it. So there you go, Jacksonville. All right, that leaves one more spot. So I guess we'll have 7 again this week instead of 8, but maybe next week we'll have 8 when Winkler finishes his move. Here is my season 16, week 5, Diva of the Week nominee. This person scored as many or more points than 10 other teams. This one person outscored 10 teams this week. Atlanta, Sioux Falls, Louisiana, London, Queen City, Fort Worth, Houston, St. Louis, DC, and San Diego all got outscored by this guy, or scored the same. 3 of them scored the same. 6 for 6 in field goals, 2 extra points, and a diva moment of a game-winning field goal. Mr. Whistle while you work, whistle while you play, whistle while you kick game-winning field goals, Jones. What's up, Whistle Jones? There you go. All right, Whistle Jones is my week 5 Diva of the Week nominee. So we've got Harish, Nacho, J-Mart, William Davidson, Ryan Davidson. Make sure you don't confuse those in the poll that Eagle will be putting up later this evening in the Access Live server. The Jacksonville franchise and Whistle Jones. Those are your season 16 week 5 Diva of the Week nominees. It looks like Eagle's already on top of it. He put the link in the show chat already because he is on the ball even when he's feeding Elsie. What do you know? That moves us on to trying to figure out what's going on tomorrow night with Mr. Tyler Falk here. Tyler, tell me and tell everybody else what's next on Netma.
I got to get everything ready. There we go.
Or I can drag it out, or I could drag this out longer.
Yeah, just drag it out just a little bit longer. All right. Next on Netma, which happens first? An 0-5 team wins or a 5-0 team loses? Or will we see all 5 teams end up with a 0 in one of their win or loss columns? Has Florida tipped their hand too early? Well, I think that Florida may be in trouble going into the later half of the season. And, of course, the updated Netma Power Rankings. It's live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Netma.
Awesome. And once again, congratulations to Kendra again for being your co-host. I caught bits and pieces of the show last week. It looks like she's doing a phenomenal job with you, Tyler.
Yes, I have to agree. I can't. I actually am kind of surprised I got this far into Netmo without having her on, and in the spot that she is. So props to Kendra. Thanks for coming on. And yeah, 10 episodes, Dave. 10 episodes tomorrow. So
That's crazy
we
already.
hit a decade in episodes. So
Unbelievable.
we're having fun.
Awesome. All right. So speaking of tomorrow, let's move into After Dark. On Thursday, I teased a little something, letting everybody know that I had a surprise announcement. And that surprise announcement on Thursday, I told all of you that next Wednesday, which is tomorrow, at 9 p.m. Eastern, there's going to be a special edition of Access After Dark. It won't be a whole show. It will literally only be Access After Dark. It'll go on right after NETMA. And I said on Thursday that I would tell you tonight what it's going to be, who it's going to be. So I don't know if we're doing all these sound effects. Wink, I probably should have had a drum roll set up or something, bro.
Hold on. Give me 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
I can accommodate you.
Okay, that's perfect. And I can't hear any of the sound effects, so I'm gonna have to listen back to the whole show to hear all the sound effects you did for the whole show. I've got a weird thing going on with my camera today. I don't know why. It looks like I'm distorted. Do I look distorted to you guys? How's my face look? So tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, Access After Dark, special edition. Let me know when I have the drum roll.
Oh, you got it. You're going. Go.
Oh, okay.
Go with it. Go with it.
We will have on the show, I will be interviewing for the first time since his league suspension and team taken away from him. And yep, we know where this is going tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Yo, look at the reaction in the crowd already. Shan Varner will be here to answer questions. It's going to be an interesting type of show. I'll give you more details again tomorrow night. But DR Sim will be coming on the show as well. Potentially 2 other people, but I don't want to say who they are because we don't know if they're going to make it yet or not. So tomorrow night, Shan Varner, DR Sim, Access After Dark, me talking to them, me interviewing them, me asking the tough questions. We plan on going about 90 minutes, from about 9 to 10:30, and we're gonna have an interesting time. So I know that there's a lot of feelings on both sides of the aisle on this situation. His suspension was over on Sunday, so he is allowed back in the league as of yesterday, I guess, technically. And he will be doing what I'm assuming is his first interview since he was suspended, right here tomorrow night on Access After Dark, 9 p.m. Eastern. So,
special delivery.
Tell your friends. If you want to hear what he has to say about what went down, then tune in tomorrow night. Let everybody know. Obviously, I will put it, I'll announce it tomorrow. Wink, what's going on with my camera? Look at my background. It's all like crazy colors and I look all distorted. Is that just on Discord or is that what's going on?
No, that's all you, bro.
That's what. How is it? I don't understand what's going on.
Well, usually you're the only 10 I see, but you came up a few cents short tonight.
I don't know what happened. It's really weird.
Well,
anyway,
it's nobody else, so it's your internet.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking. I didn't do anything different with my.
You were just trying to get in the atmosphere with After Dark.
Is that what it was?
You're going dark.
All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of that by tomorrow night. So anyway, tune in tomorrow night for that. And then, of course, on Thursday night, we will have our regular show. And Thursday night after dark, I will open up After Dark for reactions and comments, questions, things from the Wednesday night show. So be here for tomorrow night and be here for Thursday night. Kendra's asking what drugs am I using. I don't know. It's all psychedelic on my camera. I don't know what's going on. I'm
gonna add one more stipulation in there. You're only allowed to ask a question if you vote for Diva of the Week.
Oh, hey, yo. There you go. There you go. All right. So that's it. That's a wrap. That is episode 10 of season 16 on Access Live. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Appreciate all the love and the support. Appreciate all the comments in the chat. Appreciate the questions in there. I really appreciate that You guys are willing to correct us all the time when we're wrong, and you put up with us when we have issues like we did last show, or we're dealing with new sound effects or timers or any of that stuff. So, so thank you, chat. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. Thank you, panelists, Coco, Robert, Bo, Tyler. Appreciate all you guys. Eagle for setting up all the stuff in the server, and of course, my main man Wink for producing this nightmare of a show that we always
shit show.
have. This shit show. So normally I would say have a glorious Wednesday, and I'll see you at the T's, but I'm going to see you at the TW. I guess.
I knew you were going to say that
WC.
wrong, Dave. You're going to see them at the Dub.
I'm going to see you at the Dub. That's awesome. All right, let me do that again. Normally I would say I'll see you at the T's on Thursday, but since I'll see you tomorrow night, I will see you at the Dub.